In other industries, you can often leverage another job offer to gain a promotion or a raise in your current position. Do you see this happening in cannabis too?
I'm not sure I necessarily see that particular item happening, and Danielle, maybe you'll have some insight on that. But what I see a lot of is there's just a lot of transitioning, right? That people from one company will actually go to another company because in that other company they do gain that promotion, they do gain that pay increase. And sometimes there's a lot of a company will go and actually seek out individuals who they know are already in the industry and already fulfilling a role, and then appeal to them by saying, hey, come over to this company because we do have a promotion for you, or we do have a pay increase for you, or better opportunities, more autonomy in your job role. So you do see a lot of that, people move around in the industry a lot.
I think that, yeah, it's always a risk. It's always a risk to negotiate. Unfortunately, it is taking a risk to even admit, like, oh, I'm interviewing for other positions, or, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at, and I don't really, basically kind of playing hard to get, like that I don't really need this job, even if you really do, right? Like there's a lot of positioning and risk taking that you have to do in the interview process to try to negotiate. If some of your experience is from a reputable company, like I mentioned, like Pepsi, Enterprise, Costco as examples, if you get any indication that the company is like looking at the companies that you've worked at and they respect that, that gives you leverage, because they are going to want to negotiate and kind of win you over somebody who maybe has been a consultant or self-employed or working for small businesses that they don't know. And so if you have any leverage like that, definitely should give you a little bit more confidence. And just knowing that, like, no matter how much you prepare and how you try to negotiate, you are taking a risk because you have no way of knowing how that's going to be received. And if somebody's ego is going to be fragile, or like this happened to me recently, I have a new side job and I went right into it asking for more than what the manager makes. I didn't know that. I mean, I kind of assumed like I'm probably asking for more than what this manager makes because it's low paying work. But I took that risk, and guess what? They were super understanding and very candid. And that told me a lot about what it would be like to work with them, because they were like, ooh, that's more than any of our managers are making. But, we can talk about what that path would look like, and we understand that you would basically be taking a pay cut, or like that you're not really doing this job for the money, So I think the benefit of negotiating is that it gives you a sense of what it's going to be like to work for that company anyway. And I try to reframe like how I think about negotiating. There's creative ways to approach it without it being so textbook of like, it won't even really come across as negotiating. You're really just asking some questions and having a conversation that's more of a process. For instance, if it's about the pay rate, you could ask a few questions kind of around that, as far as, what's the trajectory, like what's the review process, what are their company policies about promoting internally, and about how long does that usually take, to get a sense of like, okay, if they can't bump up the pay rate, the starting rate, how soon can they bump it up? Is it going to be 3 months, or is it going to be a year? And how encouraging are they about that? Or are they like, oh, we don't really talk about that until you've been here for 3 months. Oh, okay. Well, then you have no way of knowing like if there's any potential for you to get a pay raise anytime in the first year, versus a company that's like, oh yeah, let's talk about that. Thank you for asking. Yeah, we do a review after 3 months, and typically people get a bonus after 6 months. And, you can really just listen to your instinct of like, how do they respond? It's always uncomfortable. Like, it's uncomfortable for the hiring managers too. So it's not supposed to be easy and fun. It's going to be uncomfortable. So the more you have your sound bites prepared, and the more you practice and kind of bounce ideas off people leading up to your interview, the more confident you'll be when you're actually having to do it.
And I wanted to add to that too, where we might see complication with that. If you were to ask, what does, raises look like? Because in this, industry or economy, I'm just going to use that word. A lot of times we see businesses that, are startups. Most of these businesses are startups. And so although ideally it would make us feel more comfortable if they said, well, yes, 3 months at a review period, we'd be likely to give you a raise or, a promotion based on your performance, or 6 months or a year. Sometimes companies don't have those set answers. And so you have to, really just use your discernment and your judgment when you're going through the interviewing or negotiating process. And really just kind of gain an understanding. Is this company like genuinely growing? They're new, they're still figuring it out. Or am I going to be really, working at a lower pay grade for longer than what I might intend to? They might not have it figured out. Most of these companies are startups. More established companies, you would expect that they would have sort of this help your trajectory for, promotions and pay raises. Newer, smaller companies, they might not have that all set in stone. So just be kind of aware of that. The other thing I did want to address is if you're in a current position and you are offered another job somewhere else, and if you wanted to leverage that to stay within your company, you'd have to do so very carefully. Danielle mentioned, a little bit about ego. There's a lot of ego in this industry, and there's a lot of proprietary information as well. And so companies might be a little bit uncomfortable with all of the information that you might have. And so if you are going to disclose to them that you have another job offer lined up and you're ready to leave, it could go really one or two ways. It could be very risky, well, we really like you, we want you to stay. So yes, a raise or a promotion would be the next step. But if they do suspect that, you will be leaving, there is some risk there because they're afraid of all the information that you might have about the company. So you'd really want to know about your, the company culture in which you're already in, if you're currently employed. Has somebody done that before? How was it handled? And is there actually opportunity for promotion or raise based on the company that you're in, right? If there isn't a place to go up, well then, leveraging another job opportunity wouldn't really help you to get that promotion because there's no place to move forward. So, you'd really know the company and really sort of, weigh your risk and benefit.